tube. It's not a Piper. Or you can call me Jay. Either one. So, got my Graco pipe here. One of probably my go-to pipe. This one's really light, and I like the shape of the stem. It's easy to clench. And got it jarred up from Wessex Burley Slices. One of the tins that I've been enjoying a lot. And then just drinking some black coffee today. So earlier, depending on what I'm smoking, I really try to see a bowl through, but sometimes you just know it's kind of rare, and I don't want to abandon ship, but sometimes I just gotta switch bowls. Yeah, and earlier I was smoking. I was grabbing this pipe here. It's a state pipe. It's a lovely pipe, nice big bowl. And I seen this one making the rounds, and it sounded good. McBaron's Dark Twist Roll Cake, and I don't know. This is just one of those blends where I'm like, I wanna like. Who doesn't wanna like something called a Dark Twist Roll Cake? But I don't know. It could also be the pipe. I have cleaned it, but I don't know if it's quite broken in. But it just tasted like just hot air. Like how some people talk about Burley, it's just tasting like hot air. That's what I felt. And I stuck with it for a little bit, and I was just like, not today. So, got me some Burley Slices going. So, not working today. It's a federal holiday, Veterans Day. But I figured I would stay home. Yeah, I don't get holidays really, but I figured I would stay home today. But more importantly, quickly express my gratitude for veterans. I have quite a bit of veterans in my family. One of my cousins was a veteran. He served. He did a few tours. I don't know how many tours he did, but he was in Afghanistan for a while. Sadly, he passed, a while ago. But so yeah, I have a lot of veterans in my family. It's a weird one. Some people, depending who you know, some people get weird about acknowledging it or thanking, giving gratitude. Others don't mind at all. But, it's at least very important to recognize services. So, yeah. grew up in a very military town. Grew up in Anchorage. Well, I grew up in a small town, and then we moved to Anchorage. But anyway, there's a place, Elmendorf. Well, now it's the J Bear. It's Joint Elmendorf. What is it? Joint base is Elmendorf, and shoot, what is it? I'm tired. It's early. There's Fort Richardson and Elmendorf, joint bases, so they became J Bear. Joint base Elmendorf Richardson. Anyhow. Yeah. I got into a couple of weird situations when I was younger at bars. People talk about being veterans, whatever, and then I was like, well, I don't know what to do with that, so I thanked him, and then this one guy was like getting very hostile about it, and I'm only laughing because it's really uncomfortable. He's a big Samoan guy, and I mean, I was just as big as him, but I'm like, I don't want to fight anybody. I'm just like, I'm just here to have some Crown Royal and some beer. But anyway, we're out. One of my buddies used to smoke cigarettes, and I used to go and I'd bring a cigar that I would smoke segments of every time he went out for a smoke break. But we're hanging outside where these smoker people were, and this guy starts talking about being in the military. And yeah, like I said, it got weird. I didn't know what to say, so like I thanked him, and then he got mad. And I won't go into the details about why he was mad, but he's not the only person that was like, don't thank me for things. So yeah, I'm a little bit. I guess that's why I worded it how I did. I think you should at least honor, and address and respect that people were doing or serving, regardless of the ins and outs of where they were at or why they were there. It's a whole other can of worms for a lot of people. But anyway, at the end of the day, I'm saying Happy Veterans Day. Important distinction between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. You see a lot of that on social media, So Veterans Day are for the people who are still here. Memorial Day is, people who passed for, who were veterans or while serving. So, that being said, just want to come and hang out a little bit. Miss Carrie's working out. But last night we had a little bit of fun. We got some. There's this drinks. What are they called? Social club. They're hard seltzer, and yes, I do like hard seltzer. Come over here and fight me. So I've loved seltzer water forever, and I was always the weird one because my family would rather have like the ice or the other brands that have like the artificial sweetener, and I don't like it. I want just the seltzer water. The different flavored ones are awesome. We go to Costco and I get the big case of the fruit. There's like grapefruit, lemon, lime. It's just the essence, and people think it's. A lot of people are like, "Why are you drinking? It's just bubbly water, and it faintly smells like lemon." Anyway, I love seltzer. It's great. You can drink it whenever. There's no sugar. You can drink as many as you want and not feel guilty. Ice cold. I love the burn. You can drink 3 or 4 a day. You do that with soda, probably can't do that too long because start having some consequences. Anyway, so when hard seltzer came out, I was like, hell yes. And we've tried all the different brands. Took me a while to try the White Claw. Not my favorite. I think my favorite brand is Bud Light seltzer. I like their line. We've tried all the other ones. We tried the local ones here from the local breweries, and they're good. But not like Bud Light. So anyway, Miss Carrie's been looking at one called Social Club, and they're cocktail flavored hard seltzer. And I don't know if they actually have. I don't know if it's just the flavoring, and they use like their standard. It's got to be it. Because with hard seltzer, you just ferment sugar water, and then you add different flavors. But these they come in 3 flavors. There's a citrus, gimlet, old fashioned, and a sidecar. And I was a little kind of hesitant, but they were really good, and they were stronger. I think Bud Light seltzers are, yeah, they're like between 4 and 5%, which is kind of standard, I think. Maybe White Claw's a little bit higher, but these ones were 7% per can, so a little bit different. I was starting to feel a little buzz after 1 can, so I drank 2 of those, and then I had a couple of nice stouts, and I was like on the front door of being drunk, but yeah, they were really good. I picked up some Founders Breakfast Stout. At first, I was a little like, yeah, but it's a good flavor. I get biased. I used to work at a brewery in Anchorage, and they had don't tell them this, but they had amazing beer. Really lucked out. Is it starting to rain? We had some wind earlier. We're getting some. We got some passing rain. Oh man, it's nice. I like this weather. The only upgrade I need, you give me a rocking chair. But they had their stout was one of my favorites. Let's see. I was watching Blake 1827's channel. Shout out to him. He likes stouts. He does some pairings. And before I saw his last couple pairings, I was thinking about getting some stouts. And also, he was the last channel I watched that had dark twist roll cake. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get both of those going. Anyway, yeah, Founders. I like Founders. I've only had them a few times. The other beer that I really like of theirs is raspberry wheat ale. I like a good fruit ale or wheat ale. I mean, not wheat ale. What am I saying? Wheat beer. But theirs is raspberry fruit ale. There's another brewery back home. It's called Broken Tooth, and they started out as just a little pizza place called Moose's Tooth, and then they've been around forever, and they started making their own beer. And then a couple years ago, they were the top grossing pizza place in the U.S. And they make amazing pizza. It's a little bit more of like a gourmet spot. It's really big with like a lot of kind of, bless you.
Sorry.
With the yuppie folk back home, a lot of skiers, and so it was a rare time when we would venture in. But you could pick up beer to go, growlers, or pizza to go, so it was always a good spot. But anyway, their fruit ales are probably the best I've had. And fruit is one of those things where it's easy to mess up. Bless you. It's easy to mess up. and it's really easy to be mediocre. So you gotta know what you're doing. And I started out. Broken Tooth Brewing has a hard apple ale, delicious, and that was my favorite local beer for a long time. And then I tried their raspberry ale, and that was it. That was the one. So if you're ever in Anchorage, if you get to Alaska, you need to check out either Moose's Tooth, amazing pizza, and they'll have those beers there, or you can hit up any of the, like Brown Jug, I think is their name, the main one. Anchorage's beer place. So you can get growlers to go. There's growler bars in pretty much all the liquor stores. For Brown Jug, the main one. And go pick yourself up some raspberry and hard apple ale. Dig in the rain. Carrie's just standing in it. She likes it. Don't get sick.
Yeah, it was clouds for a while.
Oh, I thought you said could I?
No.
Just kind of,
Get sick.
what was I saying? Stouts or porters. Yeah, Imperial Stout. So locally there's, on the island, on Maui, there's one brewery. There's another one being built, so it's going to be awesome to have some competition. The Maui Brewing Company distributes all pretty much worldwide, I think. At least in big, like, hubs or network, I don't know what you call them. They're all over. You can find them in the international airports in the U.S. Probably at your store, your local store. Anyway, Maui Brewing, they have Hiva Coconut Porter, which is really good if you like coconut. Then they have an Imperial Coconut Porter, which is really spendy, and I don't know if they'll export that. It comes in like a champagne bottle, a little bit smaller though. I think it's a standard bomber, 22 ounce. And that one's like 22, 24 bucks.
25?
Yeah, it's about 25 bucks. But I tell you what, man, it is worth it. If you have like a date night, or you guys have like an anniversary, or you want a special occasion and you want to, have an excuse to pay 25 bucks for a bottle, it's definitely worth it. The other stouts and porters aren't my favorite. I think on Oahu, Waikiki Brewing Company has a Blackstrap Molasses Porter. That was pretty good. There's a company on the Big Island. So now I think there's a couple of breweries, but there's one company that gets distributed locally anyway. They have a porter, and it's okay, but it's not the best. I think locally the best porter is from a brewery on the Big Island called the Big Island Brew House, and they do delicious food, locally grown beef, locally sourced fish and veggies, all on the Big Island. Chicken. They excuse me, stirring up some action there. Award-winning beer from all over different contests. The guy's a chemist, and they make just delicious beer. I don't want to say gourmet beer, but it's definitely not your Bud Light, your Miller Lite. they have a porter, the White Mountain Porter, and that's a beer I'll drink whenever. Doesn't matter. Beers can be seasonal too, right? A lot of porters or stouts traditionally drunk during colder months, winter months. But man, White Mountain Porter doesn't matter. Hard day's work. It's 95 degrees outside. Give me some White Mountain Porter. A little bit of coconut flavoring in it. It's delicious porter. Got the good coffee chocolate notes. In this pipe, this flake's not staying lit too well. Or it's lit, but it's not smoking too good. One thing I miss about the Anchorage beer scene is the growlers. There's quite a bit of breweries. You can show up, order a growler, or you can go to a liquor store and they have growler bars. When we lived on Oahu a couple years ago, there were only a few spots you could jump in and get a growler. You'd have to go to the breweries, I think. It was a pain because a lot of them were in industrial areas with no parking. You'd have to find street parking far away at parks and walk over or Uber it. We lived way on the west side of the island. Like it took like 40 minutes to get into town. We Ubered once from the airport because we didn't want to bother anybody to just come and get us. And it was so much money, man. Even if you're family, you don't want to call in and ask too many favors. You could burn some bridges that way. Beer scene, man, I could talk a long time about beer. I like brewing. I like beer. I love beer. I don't drink it a lot though. That's the weird thing. I really enjoy more of the brewing aspect and the categorical different types of beers, the histories, the yeasts. Before I met Carrie and I was living by myself, I devoted a lot of time to learning how to brew, and my apartment, I had like beer bottles everywhere. I had carboys going. I had all kinds of gear. I used to go to one of the refuse spots where you drop off beer bottles, and I used to just go and get boxes. Now, I don't brew nearly as much, mainly because of space. We have this small, tiny little cottage. So I've been brewing mainly mead because it's easy to get ingredients here. Where beer, you have a lot more ingredients. You either have to get the grains or you have to get malt extract or dried malt. You have to get hops, and then you get yeast. So I figured I would kind of focus on mead, which is honey wine if you don't know. I can even locally source the honey. I can locally source the fruit if I do mellow mellows or fruit meads. And mead, okay, so reverse a little bit. If you don't know if you're home brewing, there's typically, traditionally, like if you read old books and stuff, you were traditionally taught that you have two fermenting periods. One's your primary ferment, and then you have a secondary ferment. And you can also use different ingredients at those time stages to change the style, not the style, sorry, the if you're gonna add fruit to your beer, if you're gonna add more hops, whatever, you would base that on primary versus secondary. But recently I've been watching this awesome YouTube channel called Homebrew for Life. They're based out of California. I know they spend a lot of times in Carlsbad. Are they in San Diego? I think they're in San Diego. But a lot of their friends own breweries there, and they have a channel dedicated for home brewing. And I learned a lot with it from them, and one thing that I learned and appreciated is kind of getting rid of the conventional ideas of how to brew beer. Conventionally, beer takes 2 weeks to ferment. 7 days primary, 7 days secondary. But really, it all depends on a couple of factors. What kind of water are you using? Are you doing water treatment? What kind of yeast are you doing? Are you on top of your temperature control? Because you can, depending on your yeast and depending on your water and temperature control, you can get a beer fermented to your ABV within 3 days, and then you can keg it and drink it. So watching them, I learned a lot more about different ways of brewing. And after working at a brewery and home brewing for 4 or 5 years, I can start seeing the connections they're making and how I would change and alter it to here. So me and Carrie are gonna probably brew a couple of small batch beers, but I'm gonna try and alter it to where it's something that we could easily do in our limited space, and a couple other different ways of fermenting. I started fermenting in my keg, which has its own challenges and pros and cons. Usually people ferment in a big glass carboy, and then you rack it, you transfer it, and then after the second ferment is done, then you keg it. But I've been fermenting, and I went in kind of like a rant a couple of videos ago about about Craigslist and the flakiness of people here, and that was one of them, because I have one 3-gallon keg, and that was I don't know if we had the kegerator yet, because I think I can fit 4 corny kegs in my kegerator, at least 2. So I was thinking about getting 2 5-gallon standard size corny kegs to brew with, and then you can transfer really easy. So if I ferment in one keg, I can just hook up the disconnects to a second one, blast it with CO2, pump it over to the next keg already, and that's it. But now I still have to rack it to a bucket or a other vessel. So after it's done fermenting, I gotta put it in another vessel and then clean out my keg and then put it back in, which you always have a risk of infection or oxidation, which will also affect the beer in different ways at different times. There's a lot of intricate things. Anyway, okay, enough about the beer. I'll jump off. It's been a long ass video, it's 3 minutes. I'm gonna finish this bowl of Wessex Burley Slices. It's just starting to taste really good. I've also been feeling some English, so maybe later I'll have a bowl of Peter Sotheby's English Luxury, or I found an old sample from Paladin Murray's Whitehall, and I haven't had it in a long time. But I found it in my cellar, and it smells amazing. So I'm gonna hydrate that for a couple of days. Get that going. It smells really good. And I think it's similar to it's Peter Sotheby English Luxury without the vanilla. I think it's just Virginia Burley and Nottingham. So anyway. All right, I'm gonna quit rambling, you guys. Smoke something good. Take care. I love y'all. There you go. I'll catch you later.